The side pick from her. Well, I guess the best thing to do is start with what happened. My husband and I had some close friends that we would hang out with and do couple things. It was one of my husband's friends from childhood who lost touch and reconnected because we moved to the area. We would all drink and hang out, play drinking games and chill at our house in the garage. Both couples have children, so it's nice to be able to put the kids to bed and hang out. One night in particular we were all wasted. My husband and his friend's wife went inside to go to bed. His friend stayed to finish his beer and I was cleaning up because I didn't want our garage to smell like old beer and we've been having ant problems. Anyways, he walks over to me as I'm cleaning. We start talking. I told him I was thankful for the friendship because we haven't been able to get out and be social because we have a young child. A touch led to a hug that led to a kiss that led to me making the worst mistake of my life. He said it would be our secret and my husband doesn't need to know. I couldn't do that. I already betrayed him and I didn't want to lie to him. I knew that if I wanted a chance for our marriage to survive that I had to come clean about what happened, as embarrassed and ashamed as I felt. The couple left the next morning and I battled with myself. So, I worked up courage and told him. When I saw the hurt in his eyes, my heart broke because I feel so terrible for the pain I have caused him. We are going to stay together and I know that there is going to be a lot of work. I have cut way down on my drinking because I'm never going to allow myself to be in the position again, and I'm currently seeing a counselor to understand why I did what I did. Our marriage has its problems, but nothing out of the ordinary, and our physical life is good as well. I know the problem is with me and that I'm a selfish monster. I put my marriage, my family, and my husband's dignity on the line for a selfish act, and I will forever regret it. I'm here to ask for advice on ways to prove to my husband that I made a horrible mistake and want to work on proving to him that I love him and want to earn his trust back. I would love to hear that marriages do survive these things, advice to get to healing and helping him heal. I already know that I'm a horrible human being and that I'm lucky that my husband didn't divorce me, so please understand that. This was tough for me to post even anonymously. I feel shame. The alcohol needs to go because it's caused me problems before, not with infidelity, but with anger. It was a choice and I should have stopped it, but I didn't. Our only ongoing connection is that we were friends. With being a new mom, I've been struggling with my body and low self-esteem. So, I think it was nice to be wanted. I'm still working on the why with my counselor, and I'm not trying to find excuses for what I did, but you're right, I need to forthcoming that it was a choice. We have cut them out and stopped all contact. I'm okay with harsh if people are being honest and not mean. I'm seeking advice to better myself so I can be a better person, wife and mother. This happened a month ago. My husband was very angry, then hurt. He told me he felt dead inside. He stated he's happy that I'm getting counseling, but it sucks that it was at his expense. He's also told me that he feels double betrayed by not only me but his friend. I never get defensive with him but try to understand his pain and let him know how sorry I am for the choices I made. I accepted what I had done and took full responsibility. I told my husband everything that happened, even though it killed me to answer. I also answered his questions that he had, like was their ex-job involved? How long was the deed? Who initiated what? I know that I have to be an open book in order for him to get closure, even if I have to tell every uncomfortable detail. I'm in counseling because this is so far out of character for me. I can't even believe myself and I'm sickened by my actions. I have told him everything and have not omitted anything. It was a hard thing, and when I was saying it out loud what I had done, it made me physically sick. I will make sure that I'm never in that situation again. It's not my husband's duty to babysit me. That's why I'm going to always make sure I don't allow myself to be in that situation again. I never want to hurt him like I've hurt him. My husband called the OM after I told him. The friend tried to lie, and it took my husband asking 3 times to finally tell him what happened. My husband told him he had 3 days to tell his wife or he was going to. I myself have not talked to either of them since that night and have cut off contact. I feel horrible because it's not only my family, marriage that has been affected by our choices, but his as well. I honestly don't care how the OM feels or what he's going through. I feel bad for the pain I have caused my husband and his wife. There is confusion. Yes, bonding did happen, and yes, I have told my husband everything. I may be really messed up and did a horrible thing, but I'm a very honest person and I saw no positives in omitting anything. He needed to hear everything, and I've told him what happened more than once and answered any questions for details. I read articles on how to appropriately deliver my infidelity. I wanted to handle the situation the best I could to make sure I was giving my marriage its best chance to survive. A little background on me. I come from a troubled childhood of meds, ex-abuse, and abandonment. I watched my dad pass and my mom leave and grew up in foster care. I have strived to make sure that my childhood didn't affect who I am as an adult. I still got good grades, went to college, got a good job, live in a beautiful house, and suppress any part of my childhood. However, I suffer with severe anxiety, depression, and anger. My counselor says that my foundation has cracks and not confronting the hurt and pain is a problem. Alcohol was my coping mechanism. However, my past and the fact I was drinking does not make what I did okay in any means, but is more so helping me figure out why I let my boundaries drop. Background on our relationship. We have been together for 11 years and married for 4 and have 1 son. There has been infidelity before. Before we were married, my boyfriend at the time, hooked up with my best friend while I was sleeping 20 feet away in a camper. They did not sleep together, but there was a kiss and job involved. I had got up to see why they weren't in the tent and saw her on top of him. They lied to me for 2 years and said nothing happened. Fast forward to 1 month before our wedding, she was supposed to be a bridesmaid, and one night at dinner she told me what happened. He never planned on telling me. I remember the hurt I felt, and that's why I instantly came clean and didn't lie. Do I think my one-night stand was revenge? I thought about this myself, and I truly don't believe so, because I had forgiven and healed. I think the problem lies solely within me. What's happened so far? Intimacy has been restored. After STD test came back clear. No contact with the other couple. He told me he loves me and meant it. I think we have a lot of stuff to work on, and it will always be a work in progress. I just want to make sure I'm doing everything in my power to confront what happened and learn from it, and do things every day to show my husband how sorry I am. My husband already told me he doesn't believe a word from his mouth. He also said that with what I told him I had no reason to lie. We don't run with the same circle of friends, so luckily I won't have to deal with the lies. If she needs someone to hate to help her get through this, I'm okay with that, because I deserve to be hated. I'm extremely remorseful for my choice, and not because of how I feel, but because of all the hurt and damage that I've caused. I never in a million years pictured myself here and cannot believe what I've done. I need these different perspectives to fully understand his hurt so I can help heal. I feel sad that our marriage isn't pure and never will be. I'm doing my best to admit my faults and not place blame on him at all. I keep making sure to tell him that this is my fault and how truly sorry I am. I'm in it for the long haul, so I'm willing to take whatever comes my way and handle it the best I can. My husband and our marriage are very important to me, so I will do whatever it takes to help build it back up, even if that means patience, which is something I lack. Okay, I have a question. He has been acting like it hasn't happened for the last few weeks. We go about our normal lives, bonding is still there, and he talks about our future, which is nice, but I'm nervous and don't want to pretend like it never happened, because that's not healing. So, I'm going with the flow and I don't talk about it unless he brings it up. Is this how I should be handling it? Open book is definitely what he's getting. I hate that we are here and I'm the reason we have to through this. I will have to look for the success stories in this channel. I find them helpful and hopeful. I had no reason. I've admitted to everything. Even when I felt disgusted hearing myself say it out loud, I swallowed my pride and told him everything. He's also acting like it never happened. We are living our normal lives, sleeping together, and continue to plan our future. I'm not sure if this is part of his healing, and I don't want to push him to talk about it. He seems to really be against counseling. I'm in counseling, and it's something I should have been doing. I'm hoping that he will see the positives it brings through me and want to go for himself, but don't want to push it. His mom and her family do not accept counseling and mental health. They are more if you want to be happy, make yourself happy and don't waste money type. I gave him details and any additional details he asked for in the same conversation. I already heard him, so no point in holding anything back. I already cheated, I don't want to be a liar too. He got a play-by-play of everything that happened, even when it physically made me sick to tell him. He has an amazing ability to cope with trauma and difficult situations, but I also think that he is compartmentalizing some of it. Do I think he has forgiven me? Absolutely not, and I know that will take time. I think he is living life like normal because it's his coping mechanism. He has taken on a lot of house projects, and my guess is he fixes the house as his therapy. He also wants me to help him, and he's planned trips for us to spend time together. He has had a few flare-ups, the first one being the worst, where I was scolded for 2 hours and all I did was admit my wrongs and apologize. I'm hoping that doing nice things for him every day, like cooking his favorite meals, getting up early with our son so he can sleep, and among other things, shows that I'm trying to prove that I love him and I'm here doing my best for him, even though I didn't think of him at the time of the one-night stand. Honestly, I never flirted with him or vice versa. Even in hindsight, I try to think of any signs that were there. Then again, we've hung out while we were all drinking, even woke up remembering very little or nothing. This was before our son and when we were younger, party phase. When I found out about his infidelity, it was 3 weeks before our wedding and she was supposed to be a bridesmaid. So, I kicked her out of the wedding and had a friend step in. He was sorry, but he never really gave me the details. Finally, after a year of arguing, he said, "Get over it or we aren't going to stay married." So, I never brought it up again until my ex-best friend wrote me a long letter apologizing for everything. So, I decided to have dinner with her and possibly start a new friendship. My thought was I forgave him, so I should forgive her. We started hanging out with them about 5 years ago, but we only hung out maybe 2 times a year. We just started hanging out more the last few months because we moved closer, only about 15 minutes away from each other. My son is 1. An update. I had a great counseling session yesterday and we are really starting to unravel a lot. Instead of responding to everyone who has posted on the thread, I will do a general post. As far as the other man, honestly, I'm not nor ever was attracted to him. Is he a serial cheater? Probably. Does his wife know? I'm going to assume so, since I haven't received a text or message through any means and we had plans. Also, my H told the other man he had to tell her or he would. I'm embarrassed of what I had done and the choices I made. I know that it was extremely disrespectful and I couldn't be more regretful for the hurt I've caused. I am taking it as an opportunity to learn and get myself help. My therapist agrees that the past infidelities on my husband's part before we were married hurt me more than I thought and were more than likely one of the underlying reasons I made the choice I did. Also, it could be why my H is handling it the way he is. It's still too early in the process, so I need to allow him time to really process what has happened. My fear of abandonment sometimes makes me make preemptive strikes, the idea I'll hurt you before you hurt me, or doing things to push people away so they can't hurt me. This will be something we will continue to dig deeper into, but there were a couple triggers for me that happened the weeks leading up to that night. Things I thought were small but weren't. I wish I could change the title of this thread because you are all very right. I'm not earning his love back, I'm earning his trust back. That will take time. I'm focusing on myself so I can start truly healing from my childhood, past hurts, and become a stronger and more stable person. Right now, we are at one of our lowest points in our marriage. However, people and marriages have survived worse as long as both of us are willing and actively putting in the work. I can't and won't push him, so I will continue to work on myself and my problems. I'm truly hoping when he sees me change for the good that he will want that for himself. I told him this cycle of hurt and betrayal is done. We can no longer do this to each other. It's not fair or healthy and will only continue to get more toxic. I think we are now at ground zero and need to work on our foundation before we build a new skyscraper. Another update: what my husband did to me was not right, but he is not a horrible person. We have been together since we were 19 and I think our relationship got stuck and did not mature at the same rate we did. We have both made horrible choices and we both handled the situations differently, and we've both caused hurt. The why I made my choice is never going to be one thing. It's a bunch of small things that build up and put pressure, and at that time, in that moment, while I was impaired, these things putting the pressure on helped me make a choice I will forever regret. I was not thinking and I was selfish. No, there was no heavy petting, it went straight from kissing to intercourse. It was fast and my mind was fogged. I hate myself for my choice. I hate myself for the pain I caused. It's important to understand that I'm not a bad person, nor is my husband. We are good people who made bad choices. She was on top of him because she was trying to sleep with him and he said no. I wish I would have said no. I'm fully committed and in love with my husband, always have been since the day we met. Life is hard, parenting is rough, and marriage is not easy, but we are going to stay in it and work on it together. This is a learning opportunity for both of us. My counselor is great. He is not saying this is why you cheated. He is helping me go deep down and figure out my why on my own. Like other posters have said, yes, it's in the past, but it's still a piece that fits into the puzzle. I have the ability to adapt to difficult situations because my childhood was ripped from me and I was forced to grow up pretty quickly. This also means that sometimes I make childish and rash choices without thinking. I also tend to shut down in some instances that I find hard to handle. Like I said, when he started kissing me, I should have said no. Instead, I made a choice to let it happen. I was surprised that it was happening. We've been alone together before and nothing like that happened. I felt comfortable around him because he was a friend and I cared for him as a friend. It's important to understand that I have the capability to let this happen and need to be aware so I never let it happen again. I've found my dark side. I can't speak for my husband, how he feels, what he feels, and how he is processing it. I can only be there to support him in any way possible and help him heal. My counselor and I are working on a timeline to slowly bring up the conversations properly to allow him to process. But not rug sweep. We all heal differently and we are all on different timelines. Like comment, you seem to be working on both yourself and your marriage with great dedication. Hopefully your husband is the same. They all seem to be as good a case for reconciliation and recovery as we ever see. However, I would like to point out one lingering inconsistency which lies in the portion I bolded above. I think you may need to consider that maybe you haven't always been fully committed to your husband. If you were, the infidelity wouldn't have happened. I think you need to face that straight up to be able to truly move forward. Story 2. The final change. I will try to give the cornerstones of our marriage and be a bit more specific with the parts that matter for the problems we are having. We, me and STBX, are a couple since 2005. We were both 17-year-old at the time and we went to the same class in high school. We have ever since considered ourselves to love each other very profoundly, lasting first big love, soulmates, etc. blah, blah. My W had a medical problem starting from 2008 lasting to about 2012. It costed a lot of energy, but we stayed together and grew as a couple. Since, no such problems occurred anymore. We married in 2014 and our first child, son, was born soon after. We had a beautiful but also hard time. I studied at the university during the day and I worked the night shift in a bakery to be able to feed our little family. 2018, I started a new, demanding job and our second child, girl, was born. Early 2020, I went through what I would like to call an early midlife crisis. I thought not to love my wife anymore, not the way I was supposed to. I had an EAP during that time, of which my wife doesn't know anything. I even wished, secretly, that my W left me so that I could get out of the relationship without being the culprit. Eventually, I left home to live in my parents' apartment for roughly 2 months. I had told my wife that I didn't love her anymore, not in a way that she deserves to be loved by her husband. In all that time, I knew that I was about to turn my life upside down, but somehow, I just didn't care. It was very strange, and I was wondering a lot about myself and how I behaved. It was like the small child in my head had taken over complete control, and there was nothing I could do about it. It was like a tsunami of emotions running through my brain back and forth. This kind of behavior was very uncharacteristic for me, as I am a very rational and emotionally rock-solid kind of person otherwise. Mid-2020, at some point, I think that somewhere deep down I realized that the last chances to turn around hard and fix my life had come. I suddenly realized that what I thought was love for the O was something else, something weird that had to do with my state of mind. All of a sudden, I did not want to see the O anymore. I couldn't stand her being near me. It was over, completely and definitively over. Fall 2020, I went back home. Strangely enough, I didn't feel very guilty. I never apologized to my wife until recently. The love for my wife slowly started to flourish again. A better time started. My family repopulated my plans for the future again. Early 2022, I was working a lot. A project had to be finalized. My wife knew of that and she seemed okay with it. An effect of me working long hours was that my W was often alone with our kids. Also, when I finally got home, I was tired and didn't give her the time and care that she needed. I took her for granted. I did so for the last couple of years. I also neglected her physically. She was convinced that I didn't love her anymore. She only told me that after she left me. I was, however, not aware of those issues. I still thought that everything was fine and that we were on track to a healthy marriage again. -5 weeks ago, my wife told me that her feelings were gone, that she didn't love me anymore. I was completely taken by surprise. All of a sudden, I realized how much I still love my wife, what I was about to lose. The first 2 weeks I was constantly crying. It was so incredibly devastating. I told and showed my wife that I still love her. I spent as much time with her as possible. I wanted to prove how important she is to me. We had our moments, we had some good conversations. She still is physically attracted to me, she told me, and we also had slept together twice. I moved out after a week as I couldn't stand the situation any longer. My wife was very cold to me and it felt like she was not giving me an opportunity to fight for her. I was and I still am more than ready to fight and throw in everything, but at least I need to feel that she is not uncomfortable with my attempts. Things are getting worse as it looks like my wife is kind of implementing a close to NC on me. WTF? Questions. Normally, if a woman would tell me that she doesn't want to be with me anymore, then I would immediately leave and try to forget her, or at least go silent for a while. But is that the right strategy if the reason for her to leave is me neglecting her? It seems odd. Can the poison be the cure? Usually, I know exactly what my wife thinks. Not this time. While she tells me that there is still hope to reconcile, and she was really shocked when I told her that I would file divorce the moment that I had no more hope. She also says that it would be best for me if I tried to get over her, not to hold too much hope. I also think that generally she is not aware of the impact a divorce will have on both, and of course on the kids, our lives. A bit like myself in my midlife crisis. Edit, I know very well that I deserve what happened. Be assured that I learned my lesson the hard way. I have no idea, probably she hasn't either, what she wants. Of course, one of the first things that popped in my mind was MC, but there are 2 problems with that. 1. At the moment we kind of lack a basis for MC. She is not willing to work for the marriage. She thinks that she has no feelings left. 2. She says that it is too late for MC, while also saying that she cannot imagine us not to be together in the future, and also saying that it is much too early to think about divorce. I can't make any damn sense of her. It really crushes me how she seems to have been all that we had, and still have, just like this. Ironically enough, my past midlife crisis is what provides some understanding for her, what keeps my hope alive. There definitively seem to be similarities. I know, an EAP would explain a lot. It's only that I am 99% sure she has nothing going on. Minimal doubts are there, however. Still, I couldn't resist and I modified some of her browser to silently save passwords. However, I have modified the file, but I did not replace the original file with it yet. I kind of have scruples to spy on my wife, especially if she didn't have a PA. As to me cheating, technically speaking, I was not. The PA started after I told her not to be in love anymore, and after I left, we declared that our relation was on hold. We were given free, so to speak. But whatever, now this is also the case. Update, as I found out by accident, my STBX mentioned to a female friend of her that recently she is full of lust and looking forward for physical adventures. This information was very devastating for me. At least it seems not to be connected to a specific person. Not yet. When I heard this, I felt like it was another D-Day. I had to puke. What is going on with me? Honestly, I am starting to be afraid that she is having a light, manic episode. She has been bipolar in the past. See first post medical issues. Again after so many stable years. However, I more and more feel deeply disappointed for how she bends all the years that we had. I suffer dearly in seeing her lack of commitment for our marriage and the lack of willingness to save what once was our life work. This family, she basically ended the whole thing as if it was just some sort of insignificant fling. I am still convinced that she has no idea of the consequences of her actions. But it looks like that is going to be her problem, as I just filled out the request for divorce form and I will probably let her sign it during the next week or so. I just can't stand it anymore and I'd rather walk away and never look back instead of keep taking her cheap shots and try to smile while. Little update, my wife invited me for family dinner tonight. We had a fairly good evening and it was the first time that I felt that my wife didn't seem so sure about not loving me anymore. When I left, I got an intense hug and she seemed to almost want to kiss me. It also was the first time that I was not that much terrified of letting her go anymore. Of course, I am still very much in love with her, but I start to see that there is also an alternative life with many possibilities. I am making progress of letting my wife go. While I am still madly in love with her and craving for her, I notice an ongoing battle between my rational part, saying, let go, start with the rest of your life, enjoy the things to come. Anyway, your wife told you that she didn't want to be with you anymore, accept the facts and stop daydreaming of me and my emotional side, saying, this is the only woman you can get happy with, try everything to win her back, be patient as your wife might still change her mind and come back to you. Usually, when I notice those kinds of fights, it doesn't take long anymore for the rational part to gain. Oddly enough, my wife, while still not saying anything in that direction, starts to act more and more like she is not so sure anymore about burying this marriage. She keeps finding pretenses to make me come to her flat and also tries to keep me there by sitting on the couch and start a casual conversation, offering me drinks, etc. All in all, I can say that I am regaining a little bit of control over my life and it feels good. However, I still have moments where I could just collapse and cry my heart out. For example, in the course of the following conversation that I had with my daughter. Daughter, hey dad, you want to play with me? Me, you know I just came by to pick up my workout shoes. I will go for a workout right now. D, will we play after you come back from your workout? Me, I am not coming back after workout, but I promise I will play with you sometimes, starting to feel tearful. D, but when will you come back? Me, I don't know, feeling really desperate. D, will you never come back? Me, come here, give your dad a hug, crying silently but intensively. I had a very bad day. As I wrote, in the last couple of days my wife was sending out subtle signs of her moving towards reconciliation, while I was getting better and stronger. At some point I was worrying that I only started to feel better because my wife seemed to move a bit more towards reconciliation. Apparently, this fear was justified. Not that my wife did anything out of the ordinary, but I realized today that I am still way down in limbo, further down than ever. I was crying for the first time in more than a week, not in front of my wife at least. I am hurting like crazy. I love that woman so much I cannot describe it in words, let alone in English words. I am desperate and I have no idea how to continue this. Since I apparently cannot bear limbo, I should file for D, but then I feel that there might be some hope which I cannot let go just yet. Yeah, I know, typical limbo thinking. However, towards my wife I was able to keep up the guard. She mentioned that I make a calm impression, whilst inside I feel blank despair. Update, yesterday evening I messed up pretty badly. I was visiting my wife in order to discuss finances and housing. It was very difficult for me to discuss such technical issues given the highly emotional context. It also seems that I silently was hoping that something would happen, since this discussion kind of materialized that we are splitting up, but nothing happened. After our discussion I was stupid enough to ask my wife if she wanted to spend a day or two with me at our soon-to-come anniversary. She answered that she had to think about it. Despite her answer not being outright negative, it got me very upset somehow. I gave her the divorce paperwork with my signature on it. I was carrying this around for a while and told her that she could do whatever she wanted with it. Mean sign it or bin it or whatever. She seemed pretty shocked and got a little angry. Oddly, her anger felt really good, as it is at least showing some emotions for our case. She blamed me to give the situation not the time it needed to settle and also asked me how I would have reacted if she gave me the divorce papers a year before when I just left for a month. She also pointed out how terrible it was during the last 2 years when I was almost completely ignoring her and her desires. I wasn't aware of how much she was fighting for that marriage before D-Day, before she lost hope. However, after talking for another 30 minutes or so we both calmed down considerably. We had a good time again and we were even laughing together. She gave me back the papers and I took them. Once again, I left with a very weird mix of feelings. On one side feeling rejected from her, and on the other side feeling that we are having a good time and still make a damn good match. I know that she also has this impression. Update, the situation is kind of stagnant at the moment. Wife sending out very subtle and mostly positive signal, but does not say anything that might suggest R anytime soon. My state on the other hand is getting worse. I am developing a serious problem with insomnia. Right now it is 3:30 in the morning. Yesterday I slept 2 hours, which really sucks. So, for the sake of my health, I have to set a time limit for this drama to end. Of course, I don't plan to give my wife an ultimatum, as I think that this would push her away. For another month, I will give her time and space, but I will also be there if she calls for me. If after this month there is no distinct signs of her wanting to and make that marriage work, then I will file for divorce. I didn't give her a deadline, and I don't intend in doing so. I set up the deadline, of which she would only know when it is too late, for myself in an attempt to define where my own boundaries are. Today my wife told me that she feels that I am pressing her into making a decision, probably because I told her that I don't want to stay at my friend's any longer and that I will rent my own apartment, and of course the thing with the divorce papers. At the same time, she told me to take her denial of keeping the papers as a sign. I really think that she wants to find out whether or not she is going to miss me. I think that she doesn't know whether or not she wants me back. What I don't know is whether I will still be there waiting for her once that she has made up her mind. This must not be seen as a lack of love from my side, as it is rather the opposite. I kind of love her too much to stand that state in which I never know whether I will ever be able to embrace her again. The most recent cornerstones, however, are summarized below. The other man wife contacted me to have a talk. We know each other well, as the other man and his wife were close friends of the family. She told me lots of details. It seems other man is much more honest with his wife than my wife with me. Many things were of the in-your-face sort again. Other man told his wife that he wanted to stay but refused not to see my STBX ever again, which, for good reason, is a showstopper for her. My wife on the other side seems to be ready to sacrifice whatever it takes to get into a relationship with other man. I really can't see why, but whatever other man is an average-looking guy who is totally broken. His wife paid almost everything for them, including taxes, rent, vacations, and food. Lol, and never has accomplished anything but being a victim in his life. I will have to contact a lawyer, rather today than tomorrow. It just feels so wrong setting up weapons against somebody I spent half of my life to care after and to protect from all sorts of things. Kind of acting the opposite of how I would if my life was still how it used to be. My comment: she is living with another man. I forget, does he work? She's not working and she's getting more than half your salary. You need to talk to a lawyer as soon as you can. Yes, they are expensive, but it could cost you much more in the long run. I know you want to do what's right for your children, but you are being used. I don't know about where you live, but here lawyers give you a free half hour and you are not obligated to go any further with them. Even if you have to pay, it will be worth it to find out your rights.